Inside Saluki Athletics, presented by Pagliai of Carbondale, the official coaches show of Saluki Athletics. Now, here is the voice of the Salukis, Luke Martin.
It is so exciting that now the Pagliai of Carbondale Inside Saluki Athletics show is in basketball mode now. We enjoyed Coach Hill football throughout the fall. Now we switch over to basketball season with Coach Nagy and Coach White. And today, filling in for Coach Nagy here on game day with the Bradley Braves tonight is none other than Jevon Mamon, Saluki Assistant. Jevon, we had to bring you on for the first one, brother. How you feeling?
I'm feeling great. And again, let me first start by saying, Saluki Nation, we hope you had a great Thanksgiving. I hope you had a great time with friends and family. We cannot wait to celebrate the start of conference season tonight with you all, with our friends and family of Saluki Nation inside the Banterra Center tonight at 7 p.m. Looking forward to a great crowd atmosphere, a great basketball game, and looking forward to this being the case the rest of the year. But kudos to Coach Hill and his staff and his team for season. I know they obviously went through a lot, but the way that they finished things up, kudos, hats off to those guys for sticking with it and not quitting and fighting through it. That's the Saluki spirit that we all have.
No question about it. And as you said tonight, start of a new season, Coach Mamon. I know in reality you get one of these and then a break back in the non-con, and then we'll get Northern Iowa later on this month. But you've been around the league where typically maybe your league play starts later on in the month of December, and once you're in it, you stay in it. Now, how have the dynamics changed? Granted, bigger schedule, you got to get these games in. I think everybody's in favor of that. But how has the dynamic changed a little bit now that you got Bradley tonight, and then you'll be back in non-con, and then go right back in the league play later on?
It's almost for me, putting me back in like coaching high school ball, right? Like high school ball, like all of the high school teams in the area and the state right now are got through their first 2 weeks of practice, and they go into a Thanksgiving tournament, and then this week they're starting to play league games, right? So you kind of go into that moment. For me, it kind of puts me back into being a high school coach a little bit and having to get to it right away and flipping. You plan for something, but collegially, obviously it's a very quick switch to get guys going. We're still trying to figure out a ton of different things with lineups and plays, and now you have to obviously prepare for a very tough conference team and getting ready for a great start in conference play, and looking forward to get off to a good foot with that.
Coach, we've talked throughout the summer, and I think everyone knew the early portion of the season was no doubt going to be a figuring out process and more of trying to tool around to see what exactly the DNA is of this team. And you throw in, of course, Elijah, unfortunately getting hurt and getting knocked out for the year. That's thrust Sheridan into a new role with all the adversity. Now, whether you look at it this way or not, I don't know how legit of a stat it is, but Ken Pom has luck as one of his stats. The Salukis are dead last in luck, supposedly the worst luck in all of college basketball this year. But even understanding that, a very difficult schedule with so many good tests, where are you guys at right now as a team, just in terms of that figuring it out process?
No, we're still in a good place. Again, there's still some things we have to iron out, and then when you include the injuries that we have, Rollins obviously turns his ankle down there in Florida. So when you include the injuries that we have, and even without that, right, there was still a little bit of different lineups that we like with each other. Different actions that we might like with certain lineups. So, we're reconfiguring, right? We're turning the wheels on a bunch of different things. But the expectation is the same, to compete, play, and win at a high level. That doesn't change regardless of what you're trying to figure out. Like, we feel like we should have a very strong record right now, and I think a lot of Saluki Nation kind of feels the same way. But what happens to what happens, and it's next man up. And we're going to figure it out. We're going to get this thing, going as we continue to mesh. And we talked about it, right? Like, these guys are still trying to figure out where they're comfortable getting the ball at in certain spots and things of that nature. It's going to come together, but that's part of our job, obviously, as coaches, to try to get this thing figured out sooner than later as well, so that we can get clicking at a more higher rate.
It doesn't matter what type of season you have, Coach Mamon. Even in your time, I could think back to when you were at Loyola as an assistant. Believe it was the Missouri Valley Opener, close to it, when Britton Scott and the Sycamores came in and knocked you guys off, and that was the year you ended up going to the Final Four. There's adversity in every season. There's always going to be a portion where you go through a year where you don't want to say it feels like doomsday, but there's moments where you're like, man, like you feel like you may be a mile away, when in all reality, it's not that big of a deal. How has this group responded to that adversity, which obviously you faced last week on the Florida trip?
Yeah, I think we all feel like, coming off of Louisiana Tech and not finishing that game off, we all got off to a slow start against Eastern Kentucky. We had a challenge to come and be ready to play against Florida Tech, and the guys embraced that challenge. We came in ready to play. Got off to a little bit of a slow start, but we were able to finish that game out, and that's a good sign. I think we're in a good place and space mentally and physically with our group right now. It's never easy to be on the road for over a week, and like you say, there are going to be different setbacks, different challenges that we have, and when you're still trying to figure out again, each other and what we need to do for these guys when we're on the road for that extended period of time and trying to keep them fresh, again, a learning experience for all of us. But you're going to have defeats. You're going to have great wins. You pointed out the loss to Indiana State when we were at Loyola. That year we beat Florida at Florida. The next game we went to Boise State and lost by like 25, right? And so you can't get too high, you can't get too low. Keep it even keel. Continue to come in to work every day, and continue just to get better and get better, perfecting our craft. And the things will iron out as they need to be.
Look, and as you said, you continue to iron those things out, go throughout the year. What have been some things that have been positives, Jevon? What are the biggest things that you guys have taken away as a staff and this team of, we can do this really well?
Yeah. Rebounding, I think only one game so far we haven't out-rebounded an opponent. Rebounding has been a very strong point of ours. Defensively, we've had stretches where we've guarded the ball extremely well, and we've been connected defensively at a very high rate. I think that we are doing a better job overall. It hasn't been the case for most games. I mean, for a couple of games, but for most games, we have done a better job of taking care of the ball. And that was a huge concern of us coming in. And obviously losing Elijah and guys coming, into lineups and, again, figuring some other things out. Kind of had a little bit of slippage with that this past week. But I think we'll get back to a place of valuing the ball. But that's been a great thing that's been in our favor over the course of the season so far.
Tell you another strength that one area – don't know if it knew was going to be a massive strength that Coach Watson and I have seen in the games have been the interior passing has been really strong for this group, and at times that can almost be a weakness. What I mean is this group can be a little bit too unselfish at times. There's no doubt, Jevon, this group can share the basketball, and there's many different guys who can be a distributor.
Yeah, no, without a doubt. And teams are going to try to take one thing away, and you just have to be a good player and be able to move the basketball and find guys, again, in good spots. But, one, that ball better go in. You listen to Coach Nagy, that ball better go inside the post. So we better have some type of inside presence where the ball can get kicked back out and swung. But, no, we do have guys who are very unselfish. We do move the basketball extremely well. They play under control for the most part to be able to make those types of passes and decision-making in real time.
Jarrett Hensely, 4 of his last 5 games, I believe, now in double figures. You felt the Florida game was maybe a tick in the right direction for him, and he carried it over to the MTE. Do you guys sense that, and what's the key for Jarrett to continue to ride that momentum?
Yeah, after that Florida game, obviously that was the most aggressive he had been all season long, and for him just to continue that aggressiveness and talk about with him on a daily basis about staying that aggressive and, regardless if that's on the inside, we're posting up or being aggressive, having a quick trigger when you get an open look out on the perimeter. Don't pass that up, Jarrett. Shoot that ball. That's one of the things that he can do, and obviously being able to stretch the floor from his position. We need that out of him. So I think he is in a great space, and that goes back to, people say, and we say we've been together since June, right? But we've been playing against each other since June, and we haven't seen different types of defenses and schemes. And, again, we're still trying to figure out, different things and where we're playing against other opponents. And the guys are now getting a little bit more comfortable with that. And regardless of who's in the lineup, it's coming together. Now, obviously, we can focus. We have a little bit more time in practice to have the type of lineups that we have to play with now, given what we have to work with.
I look at a guy like Kennard Davis. I mean, everybody knew that Kennard was going to make a jump. And for him, got a double-double against Louisiana Tech. He's been a guy that can be a consistent scorer. But what more can Kennard really bring this year other than just those numbers? Obviously, I know the leadership pieces can be a really big piece for him because he's a guy who's been here.
Yeah, he's a guy that's been here. He's a guy that the locker room respects, and he has to find that voice and that comfort level for him to take that on and embrace that leadership aspect of it. But on the floor, he's done a great job of, like you say, scoring. He's been unselfish. He finds guys offensively off the ball when he has the hands on his ball, when he has the ball in his hands, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But we need him to rebound more, and that's one thing that he can continue to grow at. And for our success, offensively and defensively, he can attack the glass a little bit harder for us.
And knowing how Coach Nagy and his style, what he preaches offensively, how much can he be a guy who can take the ball to the block? I mean, you see how physical Kennard is, and there's no doubt he's improved his outside shot. But, man, with his physicality, Jevon, he can be tough to guard on the block and really anywhere on the floor.
Yeah, and you look at it. We've gotten the ball to him down there quite a bit, and that's one part of his game that he's continuing to grow at. I think he needs to learn how to play at a little bit of a different pace because he will go after you, and look to get into you a little bit, but just try to, slow down, right? You control the pace of your post-up and when you want to attack out of it and just reading the defense and getting your defender off balance a little bit. But that's definitely a part of his game that he would definitely grow into and continue to get comfortable with as we grow throughout the season.
You brought up one of the injuries, of course, Rilo. I know he's been integrating back into practice. Hopefully we'll be ready to go and we'll be clear for the game against Bradley tonight. But what he has done is you can tell he's not afraid, Jevon. I mean, and maybe some of that is just the lack of experience in terms of not knowing what to be afraid of. But I say that in all sincerity that is what has made Rollins such a joy to watch is it doesn't matter whether it's Florida, Oklahoma State, the bigger teams you played. He's not intimidated when he goes out there on the floor.
There's no intimidation level for Rollins at all. But he just gives you energy. And he gives you energy. He gives you a maximum effort that you need to compete and win at a high level. And when he's doing that and he's playing composed in that way, like it's hard to take him off the floor. And, he's done an unbelievable job with that. He's going to be key for us with that going into tonight. And, because of his activity and his energy level, it brings people along with him. And other guys have to go hard and have to get in there and crash because he might get in there and tip a ball and keep a couple balls alive. No, somebody has to go clean that thing up. So, it makes other guys on the floor have to pick up their effort level as well. And for him to continue to play like that and do that, like you say, he has no fear. He's confident in his ability to score through or over anybody. And he's actually one of our best communicators, too, even as a freshman. So he's definitely huge on the floor for us in that way.
Let's turn our attention to Bradley tonight. This has been a team in recent memory, Jevon, that has had the Salukis number. They've won 4 in a row in this series. You look at games in Banterra, they've won 4 of the last 5, and those 4 wins by a combined 8 points. I know I'm just twisting the knife here into you, as I know you've been a part of those. But, look, it's a huge tip of the cap to what Coach Wardle has done. I mean, his team is deserving of all the honors. Duke Dean, of course, preseason player of the year. This version of Bradley, how are they consistent with how they've been, but also what are some unique factors that make this Bradley team different than maybe some in years past?
Yeah, continuing on with some of the things, that they do what they do. And, one, they're going to be a very strong defensive-minded team. They're going to have each other's backs. You know that they're not going to switch. They're going to guard ball screens how they guard ball screens. They're going to do what they do defensively. And that's going to, get you to take a lot of threes, take away the paint. And, they challenge at a very high rate. But they've always been good, again, the last few years defensively. So that's one of the things that they do. And then offensively, they're going to play at their pace. They won't let us play too fast or anything like that. Like they play at their pace. They do a great job of executing their actions, and running those through thoroughly, and they do a great job of after the initial action, having to guard those second and third actions that's coming in a possession. So Bradley is Bradley. They do what they do. They do what they do well. And when you have, guys who have been in that system, right? You have Duke Dean. Zeke Montgomery goes to Rhode Island, comes back, but, obviously he knows that landscape like the back of his hand. Atlason has already been there for a year. Obviously, Hannah's been there for a long time. Christian Davis. So, you have a group of guys who have all been a part of that system, who are very comfortable in it and have, come back to be a part of that thing. Obviously, Duke could have left, and they've had a couple guys leave. But, personnel-wise for them, some things that they do differently, like, Atlason played a lot of the 4 last year, right? But they've always loved that pick-and-pop 5 threat. So now he plays the 5, and he's a pick-and-pop 5 threat for him. So they're still, playing to that action a little bit more, than what they have been, what they were able to do with Leon's, with Malavi Leon's in there. And, they still have the athleticism, and they've had great guard play, for a long time. So they keep the floor spread. They really try to attack the blocks and the elbows against you offensively. But the different dynamics is, they have multiple guys out there on the floor at one time, more than they probably have had in the past couple of years to really be able to stretch the floor and keep the floor space.
They're starting 5, all averaging double figures, and you look in terms of bench minutes, according to Ken Palm, around 343 in the country. So not a ton on that bench, but how can that be a little bit mischaracterization of, well, they just aren't deep? When you look at teams that may don't play a lot of their minutes, or their bench doesn't play a lot of minutes, I think, well, just not a lot of depth pieces. How can that be maybe a little misconceiving a little bit when it comes to Bradley?
They've had a couple injuries as well. Demarion Birch is a key player for them off the bench, a slasher, scorer that can definitely get points. He just played his first game back since the first game of the year. Dylan is coming in, and he's still trying to find his footing a little bit, but that he's a high-level shooter off the bench for him. So, again, you talk about guys who have flourished that are in their starting 5 that have been a part of their system and their program for some years, and some guys that are coming in still trying to figure out, barring injury as well.
Yeah.
And, Tom's coming in at the backup 5, and Jonovich coming in at the backup 5. Like, those guys are great factors. That they're different than Atlason at the 5 because they're more interior presences as opposed to playing out on the perimeter, pick and pop. So they do have some things that they may try to attack us with tonight with some mismatches and looking to get the ball down into the post and things of that nature as well.
Jevon, I know it's very busy on a game day, so appreciate the time. We'll get you out of here on this note. In terms from a Saluki angle, which when you go into every game, yes, there's a scouting report. There are things you're going to have to be alert about and what the opponent's going to do. But what are the biggest things you guys are just implying with the Salukis of, look, we know Bradley's going to come in. They're a very good team, but we have to do these things well just to give ourselves a really good shot.
Yeah, I think we have to be able to contain the ball at a very high level tonight. Just keeping the ball in front of us, being in our gaps and not letting them get into the teeth of our defense. I think we have to have a sense of urgency with closeouts and obviously finishing out possessions with contesting shots and obviously rebounding and finishing out possessions. And we have to take care of the basketball, right? We can't afford to have live ball turnovers to where they can go and get open finishes and transition out of that by just again not taking care of the ball. Tonight. So, our keys are taking care of the basketball, containing the basketball, keeping the ball in front of us, closing up gaps, and making them have to take tough twos tonight.
I'm telling you, Jevon, because you've been here, you've been in these environments, when it's a big game in Banterra, and that's what I'm most excited about tonight is for Saluki Nation to make their way on out to see your team play, to see the guys play, because there's a different buzz when you know one, you get the Valley play, but two,
my
when
shoulders are bouncing already in anticipation for tonight. Shoulders are bouncing already for anticipation tonight. But it is like the atmosphere. The games like this are why our kids want to be here. Games like this are why high level games, league games, the crowd support, the atmosphere. This thing should be jumping and rocking all night long, and we're looking forward. And our guys are excited about it, right? Like, you know, no disrespect to anybody else that's come in and play over the course of the year so far, but you know, our guys have been like, oh man, like eyes are wide open and big, like, man, we got we got a game here Tuesday night, right? And so you know, they have a different bounce and feeling to them as well. And you know, the practice the last couple of days have been you know, good, and we look forward into going into tonight with some good momentum from practice and taking care of business.
And I said this, I actually put it out on social media too. When you look at Southern in the years where they've won a regular season championship, which 8 times in program history, Jevon, the combined home record in league games in those 8 years, 65-2.
Yeah.
Winning at home. I mean, I know it's a tough start against the preseason favorite, but you've been at it in this league. Protecting home court is just huge.
Yeah, I mean, any place you go into, you know, in the Valley, it's a very tough place to go in and win. And you know, kudos to each team in the league for creating atmospheres and things of that nature to take care of home court. But it is a very important piece to it. I think every college team in the country talks about, you know, protecting the home court and not letting anybody come into your house and winning. So it is a very, very important piece to winning and winning at a high level and winning championships. And, you know, thanks to our fan base, to our administration, to our students, that dog pound. Be loud tonight. Be up on your feet tonight. I don't care if you are in the bleachers on the end zones or if you're sitting on those seat backs on the sideline, baby. Let's have this thing lively and going and rocking it. And we feed off of your energy. Let's have great energy. The guys have energy. Let's have energy buzzing throughout this thing tonight and have a great night in the Benterra.
Coach, appreciate the time. We'll let you get on your way for a busy game day. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Once again, that was Jevon Mamon joining us. This is Inside Saluki Athletics, presented by Pagliai of Carbondale. We'll take a time out and come back with more. You're listening to Saluki Athletics from Learfield.
Fakes it to Parker, wide open over the middle, to the 20, the 15, to the 10, Bradley Clark, 5, touchdown! Bradley Clark, a 35-yard touchdown pass from Lindauer, and Clark had to break one tackle and did so. Lindauer wants to pass it, does, and it is caught by Lewis in the back of the end zone for a touchdown.
Hey, great job right there by Kalu adjusting that route.
Looking into the end zone, and it is
Great
caught
ball
by Hezekiah. His first touchdown catch of the year.
Wow, I'm telling you, Mike, execution-wise, you can't do that play, that throw any better than Michael did it right there.
He looks over the middle, looks deep, looking for Hezekiah again, and he's got it for another touchdown.
Just another beautiful ball. Threw a moonshot in there and let him go get it.
There's the pass. He's open. It is caught at the 30, 20, 15, 10. Touchdown! Woo! Keontez Lewis.
Big time. Big time, just straight 9 route by Kalu. Vertical release, got behind him, stacked him, and again, Michael just delivers a nice ball, catchable ball.
Lindauer back to pass. 3-step drop. Now has to run. Now he throws it wide open into the end zone for a touchdown to Bradley Clark.
What a great play by Michael Lindauer there. Climbed the pocket, could have probably took off and ran, maybe got close, but pulled it back, and then good route right there coming across the front of the end zone.
The give to Baxter. Up the gut. No, he throws it.
Hey.
He threw it to Jay Jones. He faked it up the middle. Jay Jones catches it. And we have a new record. Michael Lindauer has the most touchdown passes in a game in Saluki history.
Wow, one of those things, having coached here for a long time, to see that kid do that and get that record is is kind of special, kind of one of those you remember that day, you remember that game, Mike.
Welcome everybody back to Inside Saluki Athletics, which is brought to you by our friends at Pagliai of Carbondale, live each and every Tuesday throughout the Saluki season. As we are now officially in basketball season. Jarrett Hensely joins us as our first Saluki basketball player here on the Coaches Show during basketball season. Jarrett, thanks for the time, man. How's game day treating you? I know it's got to be an exciting time, man, especially when you know you have a big-time atmosphere. It's going to be played later on here tonight.
For sure. Really excited. Been putting in the work since we got back from a Thanksgiving break. So, you know, just a big-time opportunity for us to get a great start in conference play. So, really excited. We
had Coach Mamon on, and it's been a common talking point with you guys, Jarrett, that early on this season, knew the schedule would be tough. Mm-hmm. Maybe not quite as tough as what it's panned out to be, where right now no one has played a tougher schedule in the league than the Salukis have. Right now, 54th national ranked strength of schedule. What have you learned that's a positive about this group? I know right now only one D1 win.
Yeah.
That doesn't look great on paper. But where has the schedule going up against tough teams lend you guys to go, man, I think this is a really big positive for us?
Yeah, I think, you know, obviously the record shows, you know, it's not where we want to be, but I think we took away a lot of positives from those games. You know, we fought back in a lot of them. We showed a lot of resilience, a lot of heart. And the most important thing is we stayed together. I thought we did a good job of being a team. Coach really preaches that. And, yeah, I think it's going to be really good for us down the road. You know, we know what we got to do. You know, Coach Hawk had a good statement yesterday at practice. You know, he talked about how we got to be 36 minutes of good and 4 minutes of perfect. And, you know, we just, quite frankly, didn't do that. So we're learning as we're going throughout these games. And I think it's just going to be really good for us towards the when we get into conference play. So, you know, we got to just keep building every day and keep getting better.
3 of the last 4 games, Jarrett, you've been in double figures, and not just that. And look, it's not all about scoring. I know I bring up the scoring stat for you, but your energy level and your aggressiveness, I think, no doubt took a turn for the positive, starting with the Florida game on Friday. Have you felt that? What are ways that you're trying to maintain that now, and not just maintain it, but even crank it up now even more for this team?
For sure, man. Just going out there and, man, just kind of forcing the issue on whether it's just not settling. You know, obviously I know I can shoot. I know I can score from the outside, but just getting inside, you know, Coach really harps on me and really coaches me hard to score in the post and posting guys up and driving to the rim and using my body. So, you know, I think that just it got me going. You know, when I was in Florida, I felt really comfortable just with establishing a foundation inside and be able to work out, you know, outside after that.
I know you've been a part of successful teams, and you look at throughout college basketball, Jarrett, and it doesn't matter the year. There are going to be portions of a year where every team goes through a portion of the season that is a figuring out process, but also times where you're going to face a lot of adversity. I know the Eastern Kentucky first half was about as pitiful as it could be, and you guys felt that way too in terms of the emotion and how you attacked it. How can that be a turning point for the team? I know it's early and there's many more games to go, but how can not showing up for a half against EKU flip it for you? Did you feel that maybe it got flipped to the next day with Florida Tech, and now can you carry that over?
Yeah, you know, I think for us, man, we got to start out, you know, strong. We got to punch first. We got to, you know, be physical, be the ones that are, you know, doing the dirty work, and kind of, you know, Coach really, he harps on being misfits, you know, and just kind of messing up the game, you know, get on the floor, diving, and, you know, quite frankly, we weren't that in the first half, you know, and we woke up in the second half, but it's hard to come back down 26, so, on any team. So, you know, we learned that, you know, warming up, getting ready for the game, just getting your mentality right, you know, we got to be locked in, and, you know, because we're going to be playing some really good teams, and you can't let teams jump on you like that.
Look, it was one game, and you don't want to make that out to be that's been a common thing with you guys, because it hasn't. And I've seen you guys practice and know the effort you guys put in each and every day. But now knowing that did happen, what do you try to do now, Jarrett, as one of the leaders on this team, to be like, you got to stop that thing way before it gets to that point? Like, what are you trying to do to get yourself in a position for this group to be like, yeah, I need to make sure that this doesn't even get the game day. Like this gets stopped, whether it's at breakfast, whatever the case may be.
Yeah, like you said, just being a leader, being, vocalizing how, important every little detail is, even if it's shoot around, going through, walk through on a play, or how hard we cut, or, screening, I mean, every little thing matters. And, obviously we saw that, if you don't pay attention to the small details, it can overlap and kind of snowball into something bigger. So I just got to be more vocal on what we need to do, and kind of the standards that we got to set as a team. Be one of those leaders for the guys. So it was good for me to learn that and see that. In
terms of an energy level, what does Rollins bring? And he's such a young guy, and what has been. It is a positive. I know at times Coach trying to get him to slow down a little bit. His motor can be a little bit too much, but to me, that's also a really encouraging thing, Jarrett, is whether it's Oklahoma State, Florida, whatever the environment. Sure. He's not afraid of that environment, man. He's not afraid of anybody that's in front of him.
Nah, I'm really, really proud of him, how he's kind of developed throughout the year so far. One thing I love about him is he's fearless. No matter who we're playing against, who he's got to guard, who he's got to go up against, he's 110% all the time. We're trying to get him to slow down a little bit and, just not rush too much, but I'd rather have a guy you gotta turn down instead of turn up. So I love it. I love the way he crashes the glass. He's a really big presence for us in the interior, and be able to get rebounds and offensive boards. So I'm really proud of him. He's just got to continue to keep working, continue to stay humble, and but he's gonna be a tremendous player.
Seen it, no question, flip for you. We've hinted at that since the Florida game in terms of your tenacity and the energy that you play with. Antoine has had that, no doubt, over the summer. I know it hasn't totally translated into numbers. How have you tried to help him along? And because we've seen it. I mean, we know what Twan can do and how he can help this team.
Yeah, I think for us, he does so much just outside of scoring that is so important for us. Whether it's rebounding and pushing the break, or, getting deflections, blocks, talking on defense, and, setting screens and stuff. So, Twan is, he's kind of the easygoing guy, simple guy. And for me, we had kind of have that connection, being from the same area in Kansas. So he trusts me, and I know, I just got to continue to just put that battery in his back, because he's a tremendous player, and just got to continue to get his confidence, keep rolling. And, he's going to, one of the most important players on our team that we have. So, just continue to keep talking to him for sure.
We said this to Ali, so it's not that saying anything that we didn't say to his face, but I know the first half against Eastern Kentucky for him was really difficult. And it wasn't just him. It was everybody. I mean, no one had a really good first half of that game. But then to flip it, and he had a career high in points in a game and a half, what he did. But that shows, like, man, when that dude with his speed, his athleticism, everything, when it clicks for him, there aren't very many guys who can really prevent him from getting to where he wants to go. How solid of a teammate is he in terms of what he brings? And can you even describe, I know you don't necessarily, quote-unquote, guard him one-on-one in practice, but can you even equate his speed to maybe guys you've played with, or even opponents you've gone against? I mean, how unique is his speed and his first step?
No, I mean, I love playing with him. I'm always, in his ear talking about, go get 30, go get 40, go take him, go take this dude, go, take him off the dribble. Not trying to, have him be selfish or be, trying to get numbers wise, but just being aggressive. When he's downhill in attack mode, I mean, we see it. He's really, really hard to stop. His speed is, his speed's crazy. Once he's kind of a running, gets the ball, he's a running, attack guy. So we have a lot of actions for him to get to that right hand and get to for him to get downhill, and he's got great touch around the rim as well. And he's also shooting the ball really well. I noticed that too. So when he's hitting those, he's a tough cover. So we need him to continue to be that great player for us.
Not as fast as you though, right?
No.
I'm sneaky fast, Jarrett Hensely. Before we get to Bradley tonight, just going to continue with the development of the team. You look at a guy like Kennard. You've seen him grow from last year to this year from a body standpoint, physicality standpoint. He got a double-double against Louisiana Tech. Like, how do you try to develop a guy like him? And not to say I'm putting it all on your shoulders, but for someone who's been through the ranks of college basketball like you have, how do you try to develop him not just as a player, but also laying the foundation for Kennard to lead, whether it's as early as now or at some point when that voice gets developed for him?
Yeah, I feel like, Moo, he's been through it as a freshman. We saw it. He had some big moments last year, and he's just, kind of, I feel like just, carrying on what he did his freshman year, and now he's got a lot bigger role, and we need him to continue to, do what he's been doing. So I think development-wise, I think he's learning a lot from this position, being one of the main options on the team, and it's really good for him. So, he's a great player. We need him to be more vocal. I'm trying to just get him to talk more and stuff because, everyone, even though he's younger, everyone respects him. Everyone knows, this guy knows what he's doing, what he's talking about, and he plays hard. He's both ends, so he's a great player.
Circumstances are different when I try to relate these two, Jarrett, but your year last year, a little bit of unknown of exactly when you were going to play. There was a thought where maybe you wouldn't be able to play at all, and then all of a sudden it flipped.
Yeah.
Sheridan was a year that started to be red shirt, probably going to – when I say take the year off, that's not the right phrasing, but going to be a development year for him. Then, of course, things change with Elijah getting hurt, et cetera. Have you had any sort of conversation with him at all of kind of knowing what that's like to go from – man, I don't know if I'm going to play at all, to now it's a significant role that Sheridan's going to fill.
Yeah, it's funny. We were talking about that on a bus home from Florida. We were, talking about it. And the thing that I think that took me by surprise is I really didn't even need to really talk to him. He was like, man, I'm ready. Like, I'm ready to go. I put in the work. He was confident. And, we saw, when he got in the game, he had a turnover, but he got it right back, and he was good. Like, so I'm really, really proud of him, really happy for him that he's able to, kind of show his ability. He's a great player, and he works, like, really, really hard. So he's going to be, like you said, really, really important for us, so I'm really happy for him.
So much is on the here and now, and you guys as players I don't think necessarily dive so much into the history and where things have been. But when you look at the game and opportunity night against Bradley, Jarrett, they've won 4 in a row against the Salukis. In this building, they've won 4 of the last 5, and those 4 wins have been by a combined 8 points. They've been close, very competitive games, but Bradley has been a thorn in the side of SIU, and to be blunt, they've been a thorn in everybody's side in the league. This has been a really good team. So in terms of the DNA makeup of this group, how much of a game tonight is a great DNA test for you guys to find out exactly what your DNA and what your makeup is as a group and a team?
Yeah, like you said, they're a great team. They're having a great year so far, and for us, man, we got to play our game. We got to come out strong first, come out swinging first, and show what we're about at SIU. And I think it's just a big time opportunity, to protect home court. You look at all the people who won this conference. Their home court record is really good, so we got to protect anyone who comes in here and win at home court. So it's going to be an amazing game tonight. We're ready. I think Coach has an amazing game plan for us, and we're going to carry it out. So I'm looking forward to it.
Maybe a really dumb question that I'm about to ask you on our way out, which is, I ask dumb questions all the time, Jarrett. But when you know that against the upper half of the league, that has been a struggle for Southern. I know you haven't been a part of all of that, so to put it all on your shoulders and this team's shoulders, that's so much new is not fair. But do you guys as players wear that in terms of like, we got a huge chip on our shoulder. Like, we're ready to prove that this is not how it has been, even though there has been some positives in recent years. We want to be in that upper tier. We want to be the team that everybody's chasing.
For sure, even guys like Mayo and T-Bay and at Missouri State, they feel the same. They want to, be the top dog here on some Missouri Valley. So, you get to be the best. You got to be the best. And Bradley's been a really, really good team. So, it's just going to be a good opportunity for us. We've been practicing really, really hard, and I can tell that, the coaching staff and the players, we want this. We want this challenge. We've played some really good teams and had a tough schedule, and we want to prove that we're a good team, not just a average team playing some good teams, but we want to be a great team.
Jarrett, we appreciate the time, especially on game day. It's going to be a raucous environment tonight. Really looking forward to it, and Let's start off Valley play 1-0 tonight. Let's get a win here.
Thank you. Go Dogs.
Go Dogs. That's Jarrett Hensely. We'll take a timeout. We got more coming up here on Inside Saluki Athletics, presented by Pagliai of Carbondale.
We're back on Inside Saluki Athletics, presented by Pagliai of Carbondale. Now joined by the boss, Kelly Bond White, head coach, women's basketball. Saluki's improving to 2-4 with the win over CMU yesterday. We're recording it just shortly after the win. Coach, that one was an important game in a unique way. NAIA school, but it was important that you guys established dominance, and I think you guys did that in that game.
Well, you know, we really tried to. We tried to, and we wanted to work on our press. We wanted to work on our rotations. And so I was being extra critical. It wasn't even about the competition at that point, which I knew CMU would come in and give us. You know, I knew what they would give us because they're a quality ball club, quality coach, you know, at their level. But the thing I was looking for was, could we hold our standard? Could we continue to rotate, even though they thought we could take plays off? That's why I called a couple timeouts, because I didn't like our energy. I didn't like how we were rotating, and I thought we were getting too comfortable. And so I had to remind our young ladies why we play a game like this and what's coming and what we're preparing for and how it's SIU versus SIU right now. And in this quarter, we're behind. We're behind in this quarter because the things that we did to start the game are starting to dwindle. So I just wanted to get their attention. They did some really good things. They did some really good things out there. But I had challenged a couple individuals about the energy. I challenged how we approach the game. And for that, I think, you know, I would probably give us a B+.
B+ is certainly better than a C. And you bring up energy. I feel like that's been a buzzword in a lot of our conversations. Have you seen the consistency and energy grow with this group?
Yeah, and, you know, energy is different. I've had some ball clubs, you know, early on where I was just like, we're not playing hard. It's not that we don't play hard. A lot of our energy is transferred through anxiety. A lot of our energy is we're processing, which slows us down, and I'm trying to free them of that. I've scaled back our playbook. I'm giving them the freedom, you know, to do some things. Defensively, we scaled down some of the packages that we're trying to utilize our length, to utilize some of our quickness in changing some rotations. But the things that we can't, you know, they're those non-negotiables that I'm telling these aren't going to change. And when we don't take care of that ball, you know, you're coming out of the game. When we don't rotate, when we're not there, how we're trying to play is all about trust. And if we're not there to back up a teammate, trust weakens. So those were non-negotiables today that we worked on, and I thought we did a much better job. But overall, I was disappointed in myself because I didn't think we were as aggressive as we needed to be in our last ball game, and that was on me to set the tone early on. So I want to do that today.
You know, diving into some individuals and individual performances, got to start with Gift Uchenna.
Yeah.
You look at her tape, which I'm sure you guys looked at a lot of when you were recruiting her.
Yeah.
You saw a very skilled forward. But it took a little bit of time for her to settle into this United States game that is different than the game that she was used to internationally. Yeah. What all did it take to get her to this point where she's now got 3 straight double-doubles?
You know, it's still evolving, and I'll give you a hint. I've challenged her to grow Mia. There was another young lady we were looking at recruiting, and so I wanted to bring Mia along slowly. The kid's only been playing, you know, for a short period of time, but I thought Gift was taking it easy on her in practice. And Coach Brown looks at her, and he was like, you got to go. She was like, Coach, that is my teammate. I'm not competing against my teammate. And I'm like, oh, yeah, you are.
Yeah.
Yeah, your job is to dominate her every single day, because if you can do that, then it's going to elevate her game. And so when you talk about that with Gift, they were cultural differences that just with all of our kids, it doesn't matter if it's from Alabama, you know, or Taiwan, there were still different languages spoken on the basketball floor. And there's still so much growth there. She plays a finesse game, and we need her to be a little bit more physical. You saw a little shoulder shimmy with the Dirk turnaround, and that's incredible pro package to have. But at the same time, it lets her defense off the hook. Now, when you're playing some bigger people and you got to separate, let's keep working on that in the gym. But your ability to walk around, when you walk around, go straight up, now that's how you dominate those boards if you miss one, which she did today. But just trying to get her more physical and trying to get her more aggressive. Her mid-range jumper keeps people honest, so it's going to open up more driving lanes for her. And what she has got really better at is fanning that ball out, reposting. And I got to get my passers a little bit better to get it back to her. But that's where trust is developing, that, hey, I don't have to force it every time. I can get it out, and they're going to find me again.
Definitely saw a little bit more of that against Central Methodist.
Yeah.
Another international player that has really settled in lately is Isabella Palmquist, who had 16 points season high against SEMO.
Yeah.
What has led her to a little bit more confidence on the offensive end?
You know what? We've opened up her stance just a little bit before with her shooting stance, and she kind of reverted back to that. I should say last night, even though it was today. But she kind of reverted back to that stance where you saw a lot of her shots be rushed, and if you look at her base, it's tiny. So we've widened her base, and she's more comfortable in that. The positions that we get the ball to her, we want her stepping forward into her shot. Isabella's going to be an all-conference player in this league at some point. It's going to come because she's so talented. Now, again, I told her today, I told her after the game, the standard doesn't change. If anything, it raises. And she didn't have a great shooting night tonight, but there are other things you can do. Don't box yourself into this hole. Your first step is one of the quickest in this conference. Do other things. My challenge to Isabella is on that defensive end because she knows I was hot at her last night, and coaches watch the same film that we watch. But she's long, she's athletic. She has the ability to do it. We just got to unlock it and get her to be consistent in it. But then as I look at her face with those wide eyes looking at me, I turn into a sucker because she has those Bambi eyes that's just like she wants to do it so well for the team. I got to remember she's a freshman. She's a freshman, but God, this group is going to be so good. They just got to endure, withstand, and just keep getting better, keep getting better, keep getting better. But as I tell them, they got some fifth year, heck, sixth, seventh year seniors, you know, in this conference that's coming. And so that's why we're trying to, the things that we're talking about now is only getting us ready for conference. But there's so much growth there. But I'm so proud of that young lady because she is settling in. She's getting more confidence. And the only way she can do that is through repetition. And she's earned those reps.
On a young team, one of the most important players is the senior, Tyranny Brown, the only four-year player on the roster. Another guest on Inside Saluki Athletics today. Just how important is her role, especially now that she's scoring the bucket a little bit more, but you look at the time on the calendar. We're getting close to the Valley season.
Yeah.
How important is her role as a leader?
I'll tell you what, she's a kid that balances us because she's seen it. She's been a part of a championship ball club where she's watched those kids. Now, I told her I was going to get on her butt in our post game. She called Abby old. She said Abby was old when I got here. I said, girl. But it was a compliment because she was talking about Abby's IQ and how Abby could work those boards and get around and understood how to move around people and track the ball. And she was likening Gift to Abby. But what she said is she started off with, Abby was old, you know, when I got here. And I was like, all right, you always a rookie, you know, to that senior. Abby going to come find you. But that's what Tyranny brings. She is the Abby now. Her IQ is so much higher than everybody else's because, one, she's heard me run my mouth for 2 years. She knows what I want in those areas. She knows the right questions, you know, to ask versus – when she was younger, she thought she had all the answers. But now she knows the right questions to ask when she's looking at a scout, when she's watching film. So she's sharing that with her teammates. And just like I had to, she had to adjust in how she delivered certain things to her teammates where it wasn't abrasive, which sometimes I'm not filtered. I just say what I say. But you might shut somebody off by that. So I think Tyranny has learned that as well. She understands, okay, I need to push this button with her. I need to be a little bit more caring. with her. Let me take this one home. Let me take her home today. She's invested. And I think because of the seeds that she's sowing, you see the harvest. She had a choice. Tyranny didn't have to come back this year, but there's no kid on our roster that embodies SIU the entire experience like a Tyranny Brown. And when I tell you she understands her scouting report from page 1 to B, she's still on her butt. She still knows I want more defensively. I want more of this. But she's come to like that because you want coaches to have an expectation of you versus not to. When they're not calling your names, when they're not getting in your butt, there's a problem. And she wants all the smoke.
She does indeed. You hope your seniors want the smoke,
Yeah,
that's for sure.
For sure.
Last one here for you, Coach, coming up Saturday. Tough one at North Texas, a team that's off to a really hot start. And on paper, they could darn well be a tournament team when it's all said and done.
Yep.
What's important about this matchup coming up on Saturday in Texas?
It's the most important because it's next on the schedule. And I tell you what, I respect Jason for what he's done throughout his entire career. That's why I wanted him on the schedule because I want teams that could push us. We played them last year without our roster, without our whole team intact, and I hate that we might be bringing that down there this year, but who we got, we've been practicing for him for over 2 weeks now. Just running some stuff that was similar to some certain things there. You're going to see length. You're going to see some quickness. He plays the way, we want to play as well. So I think it's important to go down there. We're taking Kayla home, which is something that I do with all our recruits. Anytime we have a recruit that's from out of state, we try to bring them home. Now, having said that, I don't know about Nigeria, Denmark, Sweden, or Canada.
We might need to work on that.
But we try to bring players home, so we're strategic in that area. We just had a Saluki takeover in Dallas with the university, so tapping in one of our former student athletes is going to host us.
That's awesome.
While we're down there, Mac has worked on that. But, man, they're just a really good, solid ball club. And he's recruited locally and regionally really, really well. And that state is just loaded with talent. But
as well as anybody.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Our recruiting has cycled back down south a little bit, too. We're going to work this area, too, but we're going to bring some more Texans up here as well. But, no, they're just a big, solid ball club, and I'm going to spend the next today having a chance to go home and turn my attention more to them. But they're going to give us a great game.
Coach, appreciate your time. Congrats on the win, and we'll talk more later this week. See you on the plane.
All right.
This has been Saluki Athletics, Inside Saluki Athletics, presented by Pagliai of Carbondale. We're back on Inside Saluki Athletics, presented by Pagliai of Carbondale, now joined by senior guard Tyranny Brown from Saluki Women's Basketball. Tyranny fresh off a big win over Central Methodist. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, of course, no problem.
How'd that one feel?
It felt great. I was just literally telling the team, I'm like, wins are always good. They're always something that you should appreciate. And I think that we should definitely take this win and run with it. But I think we should also just start preparing for the next one. So,
as a senior, and you're the only 4-year Saluki on this team.
Last one standing.
Yes, last one standing. First, what does that kind of mean to you, being a 4-year Saluki?
Yeah, I mean, I honestly love SIU. I love the connections that I'm able to make with teachers, classmates, different organizations, athletics in general. I love the ability that I am able to walk around, and a lot of the freshmen and the new girls are like, Teddy, you know everybody. I'm like, I mean, it's not that hard in Carbondale, for real. I'm like, you can know everybody. You just got to start talking to everybody, So it does mean a lot. I love being able to reach out to the girls that were there my freshman year, Mac, Abby, Peyton, all of them, and just kind of being able to talk to them too and kind of live on their legacy, because I feel like we did make a big impact in our freshman year, and just kind of continue to try to team by team continue that legacy for sure.
And now on this year's team, as somebody who's spent 4 seasons in Carbondale and the last few under Kelly, how much more important is your role now that, you know the community, the arena, the practices, the coach, everything there is about this program?
It's very important. It's very important. And I think I'm trying to step into the role as much as I can with full responsibility. I take a lot of accountability when they're doing stuff right, and then I take a lot when they're doing stuff wrong, and just kind of being able to hold a high shoulders, just being able to be here for 4 years, kind of know the ins and outs, and also just have so many young girls, being able to try to pass on some IQ, pass on some knowledge. You know, naturally you're going to, with experience, your knowledge is going to continue to increase. And I feel like that's helped me tremendously, and just kind of, in a way, speed their IQ up a little bit, you know, give them a little boost, try to give them everything that I know, and still while I'm still learning. So it's all nice, though.
Now, your role continues to grow and kind of transition into more of a scoring role.
Yeah.
I mean, 10 points again today. You had back-to-back 10-point games for the first time in your career a little bit ago. You know, as your offensive role continues to grow, what have you learned along the way?
Honestly, to just kind of let things come to me. I feel like sometimes when I'm thinking too much about it and feeling like, oh, you got to score because, you know, you're down right now, or that's kind of where it looks a little iffy, and you're like, Tyranny, what are you doing right now, you know? Shot hasn't been falling as much recently, but just kind of still being able to, like, okay, shot's not falling, get downhill, get to the basket, get offensive rebounds. That's kind of been my main focus recently, is rebounding, but definitely offensive rebounding in general. So just kind of having to step into a new role, but at the same time let things come as they are, not force anything. So.
And you and your teammates played really free today, so that's that definitely showed in the score.
Yeah.
Want to jump back to a few weeks ago.
Okay.
That win at IU Indy
Right.
in your hometown, getting to go home. That's not an opportunity that everybody gets, to play in their hometown in front of a bunch of friends and family.
Right.
What did that mean, and how cool was it to get the win?
Yeah, it meant so much. Like, I felt so loved. I hope, honestly, the team felt so loved, being able to be at a away game with a crowd almost as big as some of our home games. I definitely felt like it was huge, and I think I know that the team did that for me, and that just makes it so much more important, and that also stresses, like, the closeness that we do have on our team, the ability that we do have to do things for each other. Today, when TT got her double-double,
Yeah.
the whole bench, you would have thought that we just scored about 180 points. But
Yeah.
just like little wins like that we see with our teammates, being able to acknowledge them, acknowledge what they've done, and kind of help them grow through, like, anything that they go through. And so I feel like with that home game, they definitely took me under their wing, and I appreciated it tremendously. So.
Now, with this group, even though the results haven't been there all the time at this point, seems like it's very tight-knit, and like you mentioned, you know, players coming off the bench when TT got her double-double earlier today. How close would you say this group is right now?
Very, very close. I mean, wins and losses, they're so important. They are. We're a really young group. We are. So having 6 freshmen, so many international students, it's all still in a way working itself out. And non-conference is so hard because you do want to win games, but you also are trying to put pieces together. You're trying to figure out different things. You're trying to be able to see what works and what doesn't, and it's all, like, at the same time as you're trying to win games. And that's what makes it pretty difficult. But I feel like all in all, we are very competitive in practice. We're very competitive when we need to be. And then we walk off the court and we hug each other. We love each other. We make TikToks. We have fun. We laugh. And that's very important. And I feel like that's something that I'm really, really appreciative of with this group for sure.
It's like a family, because
Yeah.
you're with everybody every day for 6 months, maybe more.
Exactly, yeah.
And you bring up non-conference play. We're coming towards the end of non-conference
We
play.
are.
You as a senior, Tyranny, as somebody who's been through the Valley now 3 times, are you telling these freshmen and some of these transfers, hey, this is what's coming?
Yeah, I am. I'm stressing it, actually. The Missouri Valley Conference is tough. It's tough. So just kind of having to, and in some ways, of course, we've played some teams that, you know, you can see you and I in this team. You can see Drake in this team. But it's still not you and I, and it's still not Drake.
Nope.
So just kind of stressing, like, we're preparing for something bigger, for sure. But we got it, and I think that we're just continuing to grow day by day and continuing to be able to kind of figure it out in a way, for sure.
Ball is going to keep on rolling down to North Texas on
Yes.
Saturday. That's a team that came here to Carbondale and played a tight one last year. What do you remember about that game, and what are you going to take into Saturday?
Yeah, very aggressive team. They get downhill very well, and I feel like that's something that we need to definitely focus on, being able to stop drives, especially strong hand drives. So I'm sure we'll be at practice doing a lot of one-on-one strong hand drives, just to kind of focus on that for sure. And of course, playing our game. I feel like sometimes when competition alters itself, we kind of, it's not as balanced, it's not as flowy.
Sure.
Just kind of trusting that what we do is going to work. And then, of course, doing the little things, getting offensive rebounds, getting on the floor, trapping. Like, I feel like today our defense, it needs to show every game just like that, because it hasn't. It hasn't been that much of an aggressive trap. It hasn't been that aggressive up the line where people are having to go backdooring us. And, of course, when you're playing aggressive like that, you're going to get tired. So just having to, when practices come, doing everything that we do, kind of do it hard in order to prepare ourselves, in order to be ready for the games, because we want to play hard. I mean, Coach Bond has stressed that for the 3 years that I have been here, that she wants to play hard, she wants to play at the passing lane, she wants to play fast-paced basketball, and then being able to, when needed, slow that down and be able to take control of the game.
Game honors toughness is what I always hear from Kelly.
Yeah, that's her favorite line, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, it is. And it's a good line, and it's true.
It is. It's a good line.
Rest of the senior year, you know, biggest goal for you. We'll end on that note. Biggest goal for you personally, maybe team-wise.
Yeah. I just want to continue to make impact, not only on the court but off. I want to continue to grow my relationship with this team, and then, of course, with the community. And then at the same time, I want to win. I want a lot more wins. And then, of course, all in all, we hopefully can just compete to the point where we'll be able to get into the conference championship. So yeah.
We'll hope on that. We'll plan on that.
That's the plan. Okay.
So that's Tyranny Brown, senior guard. Tyranny, thanks so much for the time, and we'll talk again on Saturday.
Oh, thank you so much.
This has been Inside Saluki Athletics, presented by Pagliai of Carbondale. The preceding has been a Learfield presentation on the Saluki Sports Network.